That's why I be sitting at cooking up for y'all. Chanel lights, boards. Yo, I'm gonna ride the rad today and bring this out since last year. Take it to get some air. We're gonna talk a little. Yo, I'm walking because I gotta get air in the tires, right? So I see this elder couple and they go, yo, where's the electric motor? And I'm like, nah, I'm old school. None of that motor. I need air in the tire. They understood. Yo, a lot of the learned behavior is in when you were adolescents. So the dice caps and making sure your bike matching all that shit's a learned behavior from a youth that transforms into the sneakers, the clothes, the cars, the women. It's all steps in life. Now you see these orange color brick buildings right there? That's the Excelsior 1 and 2. In the 90s, it was only one, which is that one to the left. That's where Foxy and Corrupt lived at when they first got married. Foxy had that silver SL, see-through glass top. Think I'm capping. Send this to Gavin. Send it to Fox. So when you come from down the hill and you come from trapping and you move up here, well, back in the day, the hood felt like you made it. You had to move in one of these joints, have a pool, have a doorman. And then it just became accessible after a while. But early on, you had to be getting some paper. This right here, this 300. Cam lived up there. That top floor penthouse when Come Home With Me came out. But in the mix of all of that, this block, good money. Good money. But that's another story for another time. People tend to reward visibility because it's easy to remember the person everyone saw than the communities that actually lived it first. I think it's important to separate the origin of what this thing came from, the regions that ended up adopting it, how it got amplified, and of course the global impact. We can't treat them as if they're the same things. And this is deeper than just sneakers. We talking about history and just culture in general. Some people are just conditioned to think that the first time they saw something is the first time that it happened. That's not history. That's just a perspective of the history. When I think about the way certain things move, right, for me, my upbringing, I'm specifically speaking for me, right? It starts in a neighborhood, then from one neighborhood to another neighborhood or a borough, then another city, then another state. In the mix of that, television, magazines, music, and the internet. So by the time the rest of the world sees it, that community may have been living it for 5, 10, man, even 20 years. So what happens in the midst of all of that is the broadcaster sometimes gets mistaken for the architect or somebody that made the product cooler. Yo, and that's not saying that the broadcaster doesn't matter, because the broadcaster absolutely matters. Yo, without broadcasters, a lot of the regional things may have never become global. But broadcasting and building is definitely two different jobs. That's like you create a product and then a salesman takes it worldwide. The salesman deserves the credit for how he marketed your product. The inventor deserves the credit for creating the product. History gets distorted when we collapse those into one thing. That's something that's been going on within culture, right? A rapper can take something from his neighborhood and make it globally recognizable. Same thing with magazines and movies, but none of that erases who normalized that first. The crazy thing about all of this is, yo, before social media, regional differences was normal. Nobody expected Chicago to look like Newark or LA to dress like Queens. Everybody's place had their own rhythm. Today, because everything spreads instantly, people assume culture has always moved that fast. I'm here to tell y'all that it didn't. That's the reason why I said comprehension requires context. Because, yo, without the context, people don't study timelines. They don't study the history. They just study the popularity. And popularity is a terrible historian. Yo, the biggest microphone can make the history louder, but it can't make history earlier. I said this isn't to diminish anybody's impact. It's simply to just put all the contributions into the proper place. Yo, people think once something goes global, it makes it better. That's an assumption. That's not a rule. Some things going global preserves a culture. Sometimes it does water it down too. The go-to for most people is using sales as a measurement of reach. Yo, I'm talking cultural significance. Sales will tell you how many people bought it, but that don't tell you why the people wanted it in the first place. Yeah, I'm not measuring it through distribution. I'm talking cultural value. Yo, and another thing that people tend to overlook is the age difference. So if you born in 1995, all right, I get it. 2002 might just be that for you because that's when something entered into your world. And there's nothing wrong with that experience. But the mistake is assuming your first encounter is everyone else's first encounter. I get it. You experience, I won't even say the second wave, maybe the third wave, and mistook it for the first. But we got to stop acting like the calendar started when somebody else became aware of it. We talking sales, I already know. Yo, more pairs were sold, Nike thanked them. Yeah, I get that. But when we talking influence, it all depends on what's being measured. Reach, timing, and cultural influence are all different things.